My name is Ines Ayala. I live in sunny Florida. And what brought me to this great place? Well, let me tell you. About 2 years ago, my sister-in-law, Veronica Leanis, she was living with us. And she was changing activities, and she happened to have a whole month in between that she didn't have anything to do. And when she was living in Argentina, she had heard of this place through a radio station or something, and it was in Chicago. She had no idea where Chicago was, right? And she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go to this place, they're gonna teach me how to eat healthy, and I'll tell you about it when I come back. And so she did. She came here for a month. She came back. We didn't really talk to her when she was here. We knew she was okay, she arrived, but we didn't really know much about what she was doing. When she came back, she was so enthusiastic and excited about the changes she was going to make. Now, not to mention the fact that when she came back, she was not a sick person. She was a little bit overweight, but she came back and she looked fabulous. She had lost weight, she had this glow in her face, and the excitement, well, not to mention that. And so she came back and started to implement what she had done at the center. And what did it mean? I mean, it really was a complete change in her lifestyle. And so I started to observe what she was doing. Little by little, she started sharing more information with me. I thought, well, you know, that's really interesting. Let me look into this. She's like, well, if you want to know more, the best thing you can do, go to YouTube. There's a whole series of health videos that you can watch. See them and see what you think. And if they sound interesting and convincing to you, well, then maybe you can try some things. So I did. And I sat down, and I think I saw the first video. The video talked about proteins. I said, wow. I mean, that is really common sense. It made so much sense to me. It was logical. It was easy to understand. And the explanations and everything was not scientific. It just made sense. And so I said, well, you know, that convinces me. And I went to the next video and the next video. Within a span of about 2 weeks, I saw all 24 videos. And it got to the point where not only was I watching the videos, but I was actually starting to implement some of the changes. In the meantime, my husband and my family's like, what's going on here, right? What are all these things? I said, well, I just kind of did it for myself. I said, I need to make the changes as much as possible. And if I'm convinced, then we can talk about maybe having somebody else do it. And so I saw the videos, I made changes, and then I got to the point where I said, wait a minute, I have an immune disease. I'm a transplant patient. I've got 2 transplants. And I thought, maybe there's some possibility that this can actually impact my kidneys. I said, let me look into it. I asked Veronica, when you were there, did they tell you anything about kidneys and immune disorders? And really, she didn't have a lot of information. But she said, I bet you can help you. Why don't you start looking in the internet and seeing something more specific to my disease? And what I found was that when I went into the internet and I started doing Google searches like IgA nephropathy, kidney transplants, and vegan diets, all of a sudden you started to see all of this information. And really the thing that was very memorable at the time was, okay, somewhere I read, you know, your kidney and all your organs have a finite life. And if you can extend that life, well, it just makes sense that you'll be able to live longer. I thought, well, that kind of makes sense. Let me just look at it from that point of view. Never did I consider, could it cure my disease? I wasn't anywhere close to that. So I said, all right, well, let me look at it from that standpoint. And I did, and I started to do more and more. And it just got to the point where I said, that's it. I have to go to the center. I have to see what this is like 24 hours a day, over a long period of time. And so I did. I called the place. I said, I want to go. I plan on taking, I'm going to take my mom, because my mom at the time was severely ill. I mean, she was literally in that stage in her life where it's assumed that it's okay for you to be sick, where it's assumed for you to be 70, 75 years old and have diabetes and high blood pressure and have a hard time getting up from your bed, not exercising, and being in a state of depression where you don't really see a lot of hope in your life. And so I said, I'm gonna take my mom. And in the meantime, I started to tell her over the phone, hey mom, I know you're trying to lose weight and I know you're trying to do all these things. Why don't you try some of the things that I'm doing? And my mom, God bless her, oh my gosh, she's so disciplined. And I would tell her, okay, you don't need to do anything but this, and she would do it. And so within like a week, she would tell me, I'm feeling really good. And so once I had planned the trip, I said, we have a trip in, say, I don't know, 3 weeks. Yes, I'm gonna go with you. And what happened was that as we got close to the trip date, I think I was traveling on a Tuesday, that weekend, I get a call from my mom saying, you know what, I'm not gonna be able to go with you because I feel really sick. In the meantime, I'm like, oh my God, maybe it's what I'm telling her to do that's making her feel that way. And I got kind of worried. I said, Mom, look, you're okay. You're in the hospital, but you're okay. She's like, yeah. And so I said, don't worry, I'm gonna take Juli, my daughter, Juliana. And I told my husband, I'm gonna take Juli, that way you don't have to stay with both kids, so I will help you. And I don't know, maybe something good can come out of this. And so I did. I came here, and at the time, I knew some of the philosophy because I had seen the videos, so I knew what to expect from that standpoint. And I didn't think that it was going to be such a drastic change just because I had already started to implement some of the things. But when I got here, it was just an amazing thing to see. Not only the group, the family environment that you came into, you saw the structure. When somebody talks to you about these changes, you think like, oh my God, there's no way that I can make these kinds of changes. But when you come here, it is the support of the people, the structure, the step-by-step programs they give you, that all of a sudden you look back and you've been here for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and you have made these changes that never would you imagine that you could possibly do. And so, that was really an amazing experience. I stayed here, this was 2 years ago. I came again with my daughter, and at the end of the day, I'm sorry, let me step back. I was actually here for a month in total, but what happened in that month? The first week, they do these evaluations. They check your blood, they look at everything. They give you kind of a big picture of where you are. And it's kind of shocking because, I came for one thing, but overall, I thought my life was generally healthy. I exercised, I was a very athletic growing up, and I thought I was okay. But when you see the reality of where you really are, it's a shocking moment. But the good thing is that on one hand, they tell you, wow, you're like really horrible, right? Your situation is really bad. But there's actually a way to reverse that. And so there's, you think about it for a while. Okay, I can do those things. I can make those changes. And so I did. Then my daughter was here. I initially did not plan on having her do any program or testing or anything like that. And I said, well, I'm here. What the heck? Let's have her tested. And so we did. At the time, she was 4 years old. She was tested, and it was a real eye-opener to have her tested because you think, how can a 4-year-old have any health problems? She was happy. She was, she did everything she was supposed to do. And all of a sudden you see the reality of your kid's health is not what you think. And if at 4 years old, this is what it was, where would she be at 20, at 40, at 60? And so, they did the test, they did a program for her. Anyways, once we did the testing for Juliana and we had the plan and we had implemented some of the program for a few days, I thought, this is wonderful. We're doing all of these great things here, but what's gonna happen when I go home? The reality of going back home is completely different than what it is here. I said, the only way I can really make this happen is if I bring my husband and my son. My son was at the time, he was 8 years old, and my husband, I called my husband like, hey honey, I need you to come here this weekend. I don't know, it was like a Wednesday. And I said, I need you to bring Nico, and I need you to have him stay here for the rest of the month. Now, think about it. I came here originally for a couple of weeks. And so all he knows is that I'm in some place with my daughter, and that I'm making some life changes. And all of a sudden he gets this call, and I'm like, very firm. I need you to bring him now, and I need you to come, and that's it. No questions asked. And he did. And since my father-in-law was actually visiting at the time, I said, why don't you bring your dad too? Because I think he needs it too. He needs it probably more than any of us. And so he did. That same weekend, they flew up here. Nico, my son Kay, they all got tested. My husband went back that weekend, and Tito and my son stayed. And from there, we began to implement the programs for them as well. And well, we were here at the end of the day for a whole month. I was able to see drastic changes in my health, lost weight, got rid of cholesterol problems, high blood pressure. I mean, I felt good, I looked good, and my kids, because they were able to do a program that is very aggressive, they were able to, within a month, reverse a lot of the things that they were dealing with. And so that was the experience of being here. Now, this is my second visit. You know, I was here 2 years ago. I come back and you might say, well, all that talk, what do you mean? Why are you back here? And all that I can say is that, you know, this is a drastic change in your lifestyle. And as soon as you leave this place, you have to be so committed to the changes that you make. But it's very difficult because we are constantly influenced by our family, by our friends, by media, by everything. And maintaining this over a long period of time, you really need the support. And well, I mean, if you think about it, when we talk about doing exercises, when we talk about studying something, or, you know, maintaining your car, it's not like you do it one time and then that's it. No, you really need to come back. And for me, I needed to come back. And I needed to come back and recharge and get excited again, because you deal with, you know, reasons to not do it every single day. And so here I am. I was here for 10 days. And I'm very excited that I was able to come and now go back and continue the, you know, the changes that I've made in my life. But not only that, go back and be able to continue to influence people around me. You know, if I think about just the people, whether family or friends, that have been influenced by what I did, it's an amazing thing. And there's nothing out there that even comes close to making that kind of impact in your life. And so I'm very thankful that I was able to come the first time and the second time. And if I need to, I'm going to keep coming, because there's nothing that comes out of this but positive things for you and your family. So, and you know, one other thing that I really do want to mention is that we live our entire life being a victim of life, you know, of your genes, of your family culture, of everything that surrounds you. And this really is the first time that you can say, no more. I am going to take control of my health. And it shows you how to do it. And it's not just your health, it's everything about you. It's all the dimensions in your life, you know, your relationships, your career, your financial condition, everything goes in hand. But when you take control of your health, it's the first step to making the rest of your life better.